we wrap up Women's Month with another woman doing something even I didn't think many women knew about or even engaged in themselves: peace building. And my guest walks us through the ups and downs of this profession, especially in our very complex dynamic of farmer-herder conflicts. How much progress can groups like Search for Common Ground make? How much impact have they made so far? Well, to answer that question, we'll take you to a community that's grateful for the impact of these peace builders. Women as peace builders in communities plagued by farmer-herder conflicts is our focus today on Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's begin by updating you on the major stories right here from Nigeria's seat of power.
President Bola Tinubu has promised that he will continue to work hard and pray for the peace and stability of the nation. In an interview with reporters after the special Juma prayer session for the nation and in commemoration of his birthday at the National Mosque, President thanked God for the grace of seeing his 73rd birthday. President Tinubu said the safety and welfare of citizens remain uppermost on his mind and prayer list. The Juma was attended by the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barau Jibrin, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, ministers, service chiefs, and some members of the President's family.
Feel good, feel happy, and give thanks to Almighty Allah that has protected us so far and continue to answer our prayers, accept our ibadah. That is key and very important to all of us. A prayer for our country to stabilize, keep in peace, and safeguard our people, all the citizens. The word for all of this is hard work. You work harder, you pray harder. And that's the inspiration that I got from all of this. We thank God Almighty that at this stage, we are in it.
President Bola Tinubu received his first birthday message for his birthday this year from his wife, First Lady Remi Tinubu, a day early on Friday, the 28th of March 2025. In a statement released from her office titled Birthday Message to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, by the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu, CON. She stated, quote, "I rejoice and thank God Almighty for His faithfulness in your life and over the years. I celebrate your courage, strength, and resilience that have all contributed to who we both are today. May you live long in divine health, joy, peace, and prosperity. Happy birthday, Mr. President, my knight in shining armor." End of quote. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has condemned the murder of traveling hunters intercepted by local vigilantes in the Uromi community of Asian North local government of Edo State. A president who expressed shock at the dastardly act directed the police and other security agencies to conduct swift and thorough investigations and punish the suspected culprits. A statement from Mr. Bayo Onanuga, his special advisor on information and strategy, notes that, quote, President Tinubu commiserated with the families of the affected victims and assured them that criminals will not be allowed to shed the blood of innocent Nigerians. The president noted that jungle justice has no place in Nigeria and all Nigerians have the freedom to move freely in any part of the country. President Tinubu commended the Edo State Governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo, and community leaders in Uromi for their swift response to avert the escalation of tension. End of quote. President Bola Tinubu has identified the need for security in the Sahel and economic development of ECOWAS as reasons to keep a bridge between the two regions open. The president was speaking after receiving the president of Ghana, His Excellency John Mahama, at the State House, Abuja. President Mahama touched on the reasons behind his visit to the State House.
To thank him for the honor done me during my inauguration, but also to brief him on a visit I made to the Sahelian countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and to bring him up to date with some of the issues that I discussed with him. As ECOWAS chairman, it's my duty to come and brief him on some of the concerns that were raised there, so that we continue to see how to dialogue with those other countries.
I feel good that he's here in the first place, and I'm indeed very happy of the effort is made to have a bridge between the AES countries and the ECOWAS. It's not a bad idea for us because of the security situation in the Sahel region and what economic opportunity that we must embark to ensure security of life and properties of our citizens.
A Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges has officially dismissed the sexual harassment petition filed by the senator representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, against the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and adjourned the case sine die. The chairman of the committee, Senator Imasun, made the declaration when counsel to the petitioner, Dr. Abiola Akiyode-Afolabi, appeared before the Senate Ethics Committee. The counsel, who was accompanied by a former Minister of Education, Mrs. Obi Ezekwesili, alleged bias and lack of fair hearing by the Senate Committee. The newly appointed Commissioner of Police for the Federal Capital Territory, CP Saka Ajao, is assuring residents of effective and adequate security as he officially assumes office as the 33rd Commissioner of Police. Addressing journalists at the headquarters of the command in Abuja, CP Ajao pledged to strengthen policing efforts and tackle criminal activities across the territory. The new police chief, who took over from Olatunji Disu, also promised to work closely with residents and other security agencies to maintain peace and order, just as he urged the public to cooperate with the police by providing timely and credible information.
Welcome back. To give us an idea of what peace building looks like today, we're taking you to Adamawa State, where conflicts over natural resources between farmers and herder communities have cost so many lives and properties over the years. However, the peace building efforts are underway. With the support of the parties embroiled in these conflicts, some path to peace is being discovered. Please watch this.
Search for Common Ground is the largest dedicated peacebuilding organization on earth. Since 1982, they have worked to end violent conflict and build healthy, safe and just societies all over the world. Currently, they work in 35 countries across Africa, Asia, Europe, the Middle East and North America, helping supposed enemies, mostly conflicting communities, learn to trust each other, create avenues for collaboration, and generate breakthroughs for peace. Adamawa State in Nigeria has experienced its fair share of conflicts between farmers and herders, resulting in the loss of lives and destruction of communities. This meeting holding in Yola, Adamawa State, is to assess the progress made so far in peace-building initiatives to resolve these conflicts. The meeting marks the end of Phase 2 of community-driven efforts by the Adamawa State government and other international partners led by Search for Common Grounds Nigeria under the committee's project aimed at finding lasting solutions to the farmers-herders conflicts in the state. In attendance are council chairmen, traditional and religious leaders, government officials and development partners, amongst others.
Conflict resolution mechanisms.
The committee's representative, Victor Baba, sets the tone for the event, while the country representative of Search for Common Ground Nigeria, Fatima Abubakar, in her remarks, commends the Adamawa State Governor Umar Fintere for adopting preventive community-based approach to peace building.
The project, like you all know, was stationed around 4 specific objectives that are geared towards one, strengthening conflict resolution mechanisms within the project location, building trust in authorities, going forward to also talking about enhancing resource management strategy and mechanisms, as well as also improving intra and inter-communal relationship.
Allow me to express my deepest gratitude to Your Excellency, the Governor, for your steadfast support of the Committee's project. Your visionary leadership has been instrumental in fostering an enabling environment for these achievements. We have a high-level call to action. As we look ahead, the work of peace building remains dynamic and continuous. I urge the government of Adamawa State to continue prioritizing and investing in mechanisms that promote social cohesion and resource sharing. Traditional and religious leaders to sustain their critical roles as mediators and advocates of unity.
Governor Umar Finturi, who is represented by his Chief of Staff, Edgar Amos, states that his administration is continually exploring strategies for peace as situations unfold. Speaking to the media, a community leader affected by the conflicts describes the ad hoc measures usually taken during conflicts as ineffective.
Especially commend Search for Common Grounds for their commitment in enhancing peace and security in Adamawa State, especially for taking up the issue of harder farmer conflict. This is at the heart of Adamawa's social, economic, and political development, given the significant role that agriculture, both arable and livestock, play in our lives. They form the basis for our economy, they form the basis for even our livelihoods. I commend the approach and the strategies and indeed the actions of committees, especially in establishing peace structures across the 7 local governments in the state and in building trust among communities, as well as enhancing our capacity for shared utilization of our economic resources. I also commend them for their training and enhancing our communities towards peaceful conflict resolution. We will continue to build on the successes of committees and utilize the lessons that have been learned.
The high point of the event is the handing over of the research findings carried out by Search for Common Grounds to Adamawa State government. Each conflict has its unique dynamics across Nigeria, a fact that is taken into cognizance when embarking on peace-building efforts in these communities, and is heavily dependent on the participation by the warring parties in these communities for any peace to be reached.
A lot of success has been achieved. I can tell you that as a community leader because I worked in my community. And like I have always said, that in life we have to learn to talk to each other and develop systems with protocols around which we can work, so that when something happens, we know exactly what to do. The approach previously has been ad hoc. Anytime there's a problem, then the government rushes in with a committee, and after that, all the things are forgotten. But what Committees has done is to develop a system that will be in place to prevent simple conflicts from growing on to bigger conflicts. In other words, to put out the fire when it is at the smoke level, and not wait until it blows out.
In states like Adamawa and Taraba, the Committee's project, implemented by a consortium of Search for Common Ground, International Organization on Migration, and Peace Corps, with funding from the European Union, aims at tackling conflicts over natural resources between farmer and herder communities. The project has benefited and impacted 32 conflict-prone communities across 7 local government areas of Adamawa State and 2 council areas in Taraba State.
My guest on the program is Emanuela Rita Atsen, the head of Program Development, Quality, Reporting, and Training Specialist at Search for Common Ground Nigeria. And today, she walks us through the challenges faced by women like her who are vibrant in the peace-building space in conflict-prone areas.
Emanuela Atsen, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So let's talk about what female peace builders are and what Search for Common Ground is doing to promote them.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Female peace builders are just like everybody that is in the peace building sector is a peace builder. So we do peace building. We go to communities to preach peace. Allow me to use the word preach peace. We engaged in promoting peaceful coexistence in the community. And Search for Common Ground is very particular about the involvement of women in peace building. We have several projects on peace building that we have targeted to women. Starting from 2011, we had a project called Niger Girls Unite, because usually most of the time people don't involve women, and particularly girls, the females. So in 2011, we did a project called Niger Youth Unite, where we brought about 22 females, Christians and Muslims, to teach them peace building, to teach them the relevance of it in the society. Because the female child voices are not always heard.
When you say peace building, what do you mean? If there's a communal clash, we just heard recently about the clash in Nasarawa State between the Gbagi and the Fulanis. If you're sending peace builders to that community, female peace builders, what do they do really?
Okay, so let me say this first, that we don't do peace building during crisis.
You do it afterwards.
We do it before or after.
Okay, so to prevent it,
yes,
and then afterwards.
Yeah, because we are not mandated to be in the field while conflict is going, because you have to be alive.
So what do they do when they get there?
So usually we work with community to build their capacity to engage, right? When I say build their capacity to engage, is to teach them how to respond to conflict in non-adversarial ways. Women are always at the receiving end. Whether you agree with me or not, that is the fact. You know, women need to be carried along. They know where it pinches the most.
What
right?
are the challenges with the work that you do?
So there are so many challenges. Like a woman, I'm married, I have kids, right? So my family are not here. I have to leave my family to be where I am because of my job, right? So, but this is an understanding I had with my husband, and this is why he's supporting me. But how many women out there can leave their family to come to face their career, you know, to grow in the career they want to? Most of the time, the challenges women face is the family home front. You hear, I've met women who told me that my husband asked me to choose between him, the marriage, or the career. Some will have to forfeit their career for their family, and some will say, well, I choose my career. I wouldn't want. So all of this, if we don't get the men's support, it doesn't help you to be you. It's like clipping your wings.
When you build the capacity of your female peace builders, do they come up with some of these issues?
Yes, they come up with some of these issues. In fact, there are some challenges around having the women to travel, right? Men, they don't want the women to leave their vicinity, to leave their environment, to come to another location, you know, for work. Let's say we have trainings that we have to house women to sleep over. We have had challenges where men will say, no way, my woman cannot sleep in the hotel. I have had complaints about a lady, one of our participants, saying that when she was coming to the training venue, that was in the north, she said the bike she used to the hotel to come to the venue was saying that what is she doing as a Muslim woman? What is she doing in a hotel? So he's painted her as an loose woman, you know, not knowing that she's coming there for an activity. So all of these challenges. And then challenges of, you know, people in the community saying that women, when you're working in this sector, you're loose, all of those challenges, you know, but the truth is that women are better peace builders, right? Because they don't sugarcoat the situation. They talk to the situation, and they have ways, you know, they use to transform the situation. I remember in one of my engagements in the community, I went to train some government officials and religious leaders. And when I came in, they introduced me as the facilitator, you know, this demeaning look, you know, why a woman, and with the caliber of people I'm with, you know. So it was, the person felt disgusted at my side that I was going to be facilitating, but I just told myself, you know why you're here, do what you know how to do, and I enjoy it. And at the end of the day, this person walked to me and said, in fact, openly, he said he has a confession to make, that when I came in, he was turned off, because why will a woman come and stand, you know, in front of him and train, yeah? But I saw it, I got the message, I didn't say anything, but he, at the end of the day, said, I give you your flower, you know, you nailed it. You showed me that it's not the look, but what is in you, and I appreciate you for the knowledge you have really enhancing us. And he made it, he was happy about the whole thing. So there are challenges as a woman, things you want to, places you want to go, like in some of the locations where you work, women are not, you know, they will not be appreciated, like to talk to maybe paramount leaders, you know, you have to just be at the background, right? But it's not something that we demoralize us, right? We will keep doing what we know how to do best.
This conflict in local levels, and it's very instructive, what I've heard you say, because if we're going to get to the bottom of conflict, to see the impact of conflict, is important to get the locals, especially the women who are most affected by these conflicts, to be able to speak up and build their capacity to bridge the peace in the warring factions. Yes, you were going to say, in fact.
Yeah, you know, in some of the communities where we work with, you hear the men saying that in our culture, women don't speak where we're there, right? So what we had done in the past is to be able to separate the women and the men, because no matter how you try, women are not going to say anything. But the moment you separate them, you see them talking about issues affecting them directly as a result of the conflict, right? So, but as time goes on, we kept engaging and kept engaging. They started talking. Several instances, you know, that you keep working, you work, and then suddenly you hear that, those people they've started, you know, they've broken into violence. It's not automatic, right?
Which one stands out for you?
So we used to say, peace is a journey, take the first step with us, right? The thing about us is we're tenacious. No matter the challenges, we are tenacious. We don't give up. We don't give up.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was saying you should tell me one. You know how, like, in the course of your work, there'll be that one incident that you're like, that particular one was a big problem.
Okay, yes. So without mentioning any community.
Okay, try.
This community we went to, it's about, it's a farming and community where you have farmers and herders. And then we went, we dialogued with this group of people, and then we left. So before we even go back the next day, they said that we don't agree with what we have agreed, or we want to, you know, want it changed. It was frustrating, you know, to have them.
So you had met with the farmers and the herders, and come up with some kind of peace agreement or something.
A kind of, our intention was to get them talking, right?
So they started talking.
Yeah, we don't just aim at peace agreement, but we want them to understand each other's perspective.
So after you met, after you guys met with these farmers and herders that were conflicting, you came up with some kind of arrangement of how things can move going forward.
Yes, how they can collaborate.
And then before you could leave, they told you that they don't agree with the collaboration.
Yeah, so what happened was that some other persons that were not there during the process instigated them. Why did you agree on this? We didn't agree on this. Why would you say this? And that was how, in fact, they almost started attacking each other. So we had to, it was like going back to zero. One step forward, 10 steps backward. But we kept on meeting them through intra-dialogue, meeting them separately to prep them, right? To see how open they are to collaborate with their perceived adversaries. And we at the end of the day, were able to achieve that because they agreed, they understood. The bottom line of everything is that they need to understand each other's perspective, because if I don't understand your perspective and put myself in your shoe, I wouldn't know how this conflict is affecting you.
How is that community faring now?
Yeah, in fact, in this community, they call our peace structure, they call them peace builders. They call them in Hausa, Ghanaian Lafia, right? They're people who love peace, right? They create that environment for peace. So you see both the Christians and Muslims, the farmers and herders working together to resolve conflict. In fact, even before it reaches, it gets out of hand, you see, before it reaches to the community leader, you see them working together to resolve this problem.
And you're still doing this till today?
Yes, we'll continue till we find the common ground.
I want to thank you so much for being with us on Dateline Abuja. We've been celebrating women doing unpopular things, and I think this is one of those things.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty daunting, but I want to thank you for the sacrifice that you make, and good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screens. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.